Internal Revenue Service IRS tax news. IRS releases its 2021 progress update detailing challenging year. IR 2022-07, January 7, 2022, Washington. The Internal Revenue Service today released its 2021 annual report describing the agency's work delivering taxpayer service and compliance efforts during the pandemic, while highlighting efforts taken by IRS employees to help people during the year. Internal Revenue Service Progress Update Fiscal Year 2021, putting taxpayers first. There's a link to that item here. It outlines how the agencies continued to work through difficulties related to the pandemic while delivering 2 rounds of economic impact payments and millions of advanced child tax credit payments, all in record time. And note, I do joke about the IRS and whatnot, but just note, obviously, the IRS isn't the one that is making the actual policies that are going to go in place. So whether you agree with the policies or whatnot, the IRS is obviously the one that's facilitating the actions that they need to do according to whatever the laws are and whatnot. And in that, they have taken on a lot of changes over the last couple of years as the laws have changed, and all the stimulus stuff that has been going out has basically been going through the IRS and whatnot. So I'm sure there's been quite some strain put on it, that on top of trying to maintain this kind of COVID thing where you gotta, you can't be in the office and you gotta mask up and this whole thing. So I'm sure it was a difficult year for the Internal Revenue Service. In any case, meanwhile, IRS employees continued to make adjustments to deliver the filing season despite office closures, social distancing mandates, and an extended tax filing deadline. Quote, "This has been an unprecedented period facing the IRS and the nation," end quote, said IRS Commissioner Chuck Rettig. Quote, "IRS employees worked hard during the pandemic, repeatedly delivering for taxpayers under tight frameworks and difficult circumstances. As the 2022 filing season approaches, more work remains for us to help taxpayers as well as tax professionals. We will continue to make progress on critical areas thanks to the hard work of so many people. I'm incredibly proud of what our employees have been able to accomplish during this period, and we also appreciate the efforts taken place by our partners inside and outside the tax system to help people struggling during COVID-19, end quote. Since the pandemic began, the IRS has successfully delivered more than $1.5 trillion to people across the nation through economic impact payments, tax refunds, and advanced child tax credit payments. A large portion of that amount was distributed during fiscal year 2021, which is the focal point of this year's progress update. The 56-page report, so you can read through it, so it's only 56 pages. So 56-page report highlights accomplishments around the agency's 6 strategic goals and identifies ongoing modernization efforts. This year's edition also discusses work related to implementing the various new pieces of legislation related to the pandemic, including the American Rescue Plan. In his opening commitments in the progress update, Rettig explained that each year the IRS collects more than $3 trillion in taxes and generates approximately 96% of the funding that supports the federal government's operations. So, quote, "The 2021 progress update is not just a report, it's the story of dedicated group of public servants who continue to deliver for the nation as they do every year, even in challenging times, and while overcoming concerns for themselves, their families, and their communities during the pandemic," end quote, he said. Okay, so the document gives numerous examples of how IRS employees help taxpayers, including expanded information and assistance available to taxpayers in additional languages and underserved communities to help deliver economic impact payments, advanced child tax credit payments, and other services. Delivered new online portals for individuals to check on their pandemic-related relief payments and make updates to their personal information. Offered a new online option for tax professionals to obtain signatures from individual and business clients and submit authorization forms electronically. And some of this stuff is stuff that needed to kind of be updated, this kind of more online type of stuff, updating the website, having e-signatures. These are things that in the business world have been applied. So you would think they can apply, even if they can apply to the banking system, which they have been seem to be applied quite successfully, or many people use online banking. You would think they could kind of be applied here. So they're kind of doing these updates, which are good, Tax pros also now have an online account option with new features being added. So again, if your banking is secured online, you would think, that the IRS website would have the online services that would be, you can do some stuff there that would be helpful. Serve their communities outside official duties through charitable work and service projects. The report also shows ways IRS employees work to maintain the tax system through a strong, visible, and robust tax enforcement presence. Quote, we've continued to develop innovative approaches to understanding, detecting, and resolving potential non-compliance and to maintain taxpayer confidence in the tax system. So we have expanded use of data analytics and artificial intelligence across all lanes from selection to examination, end quote, Rettig said. Quote, a few of our recent notable accomplishments includes the creation of an Office of Fraud Enforcement in 2020, as well as the Office of Promoter Investigations in 2021, end quote. He said, quote, these and other steps will help us do a better job of rooting out tax fraud, especially shutting down abusive tax avoidance transactions, including syndicated conservation easements and micro-captive insurance arrangements. So they've been cracking down on those things. So beware if you're involved in any of those kind of tax setups, as well as abusive transactions involving virtual currencies, end quote. The new progress update also highlights IRS work partnering on landmark criminal investigative cases that brought down child pornography, drug, and terrorist organizations. In 2021, IRS criminal investigations convicted rate remained the highest among federal law enforcement at nearly 93% overall and 96% for tax cases in particular. Quote, I'm especially proud of our criminal investigation division's efforts overall in conjunction with the dark web illicit marketplace known as Silk Road, end quote, Rettig said. In January 2021, the IRS delivered the Taxpayer First Act report to Congress. There's a link to it here, a comprehensive set of recommendations to reimagine the taxpayer experience, enhance employee training, and restructure the organization to increase collaboration and innovation. The report introduced three integrated sets of recommendations required by law and recognized as major improvements strategies. Quote, we appreciate the first ever Chief Taxpayer Experience Officer. There's a link to that, end quote. Rettig explained, quote, and while outlining the design for the new Taxpayer Experience Office, we initiated several activities towards implementing the Taxpayer Experience Strategy, end quote. The IRS will remain focused on making progress and serving the nation as the 2022 filing season begins later this year. Quote, we remain confident the IRS will continue to deliver for our country, just as we have during other times of nation's urgency, end quote, Rettig said. So there's links to some of that information in that report here, and there'll be a link to this in the description.